Good evening, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. This is The Calling, The Forgotten Files, and this is our first episode. My name is Shannon Rogers, and my other host is Jennifer Lee. Say hi, Jennifer.
Hello. I was just saying hi to Jessica. I was just waving to Jessica. I saw her on there.
First episode, we made it. What preparations we
We
have
did.
made. Oh my
Yeah, we
goodness.
did. Yeah, that was something, but I'm happy to be here.
I'm so glad you joined me on this endeavor. It was when I asked you, you're like, let's do it. So
Yeah, let's do it. So here we are.
well, nerves. Boy, today I was just full of nerves. And I think the reason is I really wanted to do good for you guys and bring you some good content. And we had a lot of tech issues. I think we worked those all out. But, basically wanted our first episode to introduce ourselves, let you get to know us a little bit, why we do what we do, where we come from, and, why we're bringing this content to you guys and what the intent is behind it. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, and then Jennifer's going to tell you a little bit about herself. And then we're going to bring on our guests for tonight. We have three guests: Stephanie Cox, Lisa Camerlo, and Michael Christopher. They have played very, very vital and crucial roles in our lives as far as mentoring us. So, our first episode is going to be very laid back, just get to know each other and just have a round table with some really special people. And we hope to do some justice for you guys. All right, Jen.
You want me to start?
Yeah, you go ahead and start. I'll talk too much.
Well, first of all, Shannon, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this, because I'm super excited about this. We do have some really great guests that are going to be coming on. We have some good content. I'm excited to share, and I'm also excited to learn. Like, I think that's going to be the great thing about this. There's going to be a lot of knowledge that is shared from other people. And that's actually what we're going to talk about a little bit today, right? Is about mentors, and then we're going to bring them on. But it will give you a little bit of background on myself. I am a psychic medium, a remote viewer. I also am a paranormal investigator, although that is limited for me. Like, I will go in and do residentials. I'll go do residentials for clients if they're having a problem. But I don't necessarily go to, like, the big haunted places and do this stuff. I prefer to keep it smaller. Also cold case reviewer. So that is interesting. And I'm really excited about some guests that we have that are going to talk about that. That's one of my passions. I'm also a certified death doula, which is basically just speaking with people at the time of their death, right? And it's sitting with them, it's sitting with families, it's helping them it's just kind of bringing closure for them, and it's helping them to get through that process. So that's a little bit about me. I'm not a lifetime medium. I've been doing mediumship for about 7 years. I've had abilities since I was small, but I didn't really understand what they were, of course. And so it's taken me a while to realize what they were and to open up to them. And we do have one of my mentors here today that's helped me to do a lot of that.
Awesome.
So
Yay. I am so, like, again, I just can't thank you enough for going on this road with me and this journey. But okay, so I am an intuitive empath and a spiritual conduit. I have mediumship type qualities. I wouldn't say I'm a psychic medium. I've been told by people I am. I'm just not. I'm just connected to energy. And I've studied a lot of energy and how it makes me feel and the emotions of things. I'm connected to traumatic energy. Sadly, that's a lot of the stuff that I do get is things that were really traumatic for people on the other side, and wanting me to know what happened to them, want me to see what happened to them. And it's not always pleasant, but a lot of times we're able to help these spirits out and learn from them. And that's why, I wanted to start this show there's so much curiosities that I have about why, and, what happened in their life, what was the trauma they went through to where they, are the way they are on the other side and stuff. So, just want to dig in deep, bring on some people that can, we can ask all these questions and see what their opinion is. It's just basically conversating and bringing up those topics that, a lot of us are really curious about. So, and so we, I guess we can bring the guests on now. First
let's
episode.
Let's do it. Let's bring them on.
All right. Stephanie, there she is. Hi. Okay, guys, we have Stephanie in the top right corner. Stephanie Cox, very dear friend of mine. Lisa Camarillo, she was the one who kind of basically grabbed me by the shoulders and shook me back in 2011 and helped guide me to understand, a lot of the things that were going on with me that have to do with abilities and the intuition and the empath side. And we have Michael Christopher, and Jen, I'll let you introduce him.
I'll let Michael introduce himself. He's really good at that.
Yeah, right.
Then we'll go to Stephanie and Lisa.
I'm gonna let Michael do that for himself. But I am gonna say this. Michael has become a really great mentor for me. Michael is also a friend of mine. I think of him as a good friend. I bring I guess the chaos sometimes, and he's very calming and he's very grounding. He's very grounding. Like if I go off on something, and I message him, this is really what he says to me: go outside. He doesn't entertain it, and it really is grounding, and it's really nice. So go ahead, Michael.
My favorite thing to do, talk about myself. Oh, wow. So interesting enough, I mean, I think I've been at it just as long as Jen has. Like her, this was not something that was lifelong for me. 2015 is really where things kicked off, but there's always that history. You go back and you look at life events, and not to get too deep into it, but I've lost two of my brothers to cystic fibrosis. My sister was murdered in 2015. I went through a kidney failure, dialysis, transplant. So I mean, there's things that hope happened over a 20-year period that kind of culminated. 2015 is when my sister passed, and that's really what kicked it off for me. It was kind of like, when your sister shows up in your kitchen 2 months after she passes, kind of grabs your attention, So I laugh now, because it's, I understand where she's at, the now. And it has, she is really, brought to light a lot of things that I would have never probably been aware of. And ever since that day, it was kind of like, all right, I'll jump in and see what this is about. And I won't talk too long, and cut me off because I'm Italian. I ramble. I'll just talk and talk and talk.
Well, you gave me chills when you were talking a second ago. Yeah, absolutely. Keep going.
So, but yeah, so, like I said, with Jackie's passing, it kind of kicked things off. And for me, I've had mentors, but I'm the type person that I like to find things out for myself. And it's a various topic for me when it comes to teachers. Teachers are great. But I find people become too dependent on their teachers and their mentors instead of just taking the tools that they provide and then going out and using them, see what works for you, see what doesn't. But I think discovering on your own what works for you, I think for me personally, I find a lot of joy in that because there's no rules that way. There's no one to tell me it's right or wrong.
Right.
I just know what, works for me. And that's kind of what I did. And even, with Jen, I'll say I'm an informal mentor because it's nothing that I set out to do. But the funny thing is, it's like when I first started out, I jumped in and doing Facebook Lives right from the beginning by myself because I was curious and I wanted to do readings. And one thing led to another, and I just started inviting people that I knew, other mediums. I'm like, hey, join me on a Facebook Live, and it's the same thing with Jen. But what I'm finding out is, there's a big fear with that. There's a big fear with jumping out on your own. And I guess in a way, I make it more comfortable for somebody to get started with it and find out that it's not that scary, and it's I got to say I'm fortunate. I'm very grateful that I have had that feedback from other people that, I wouldn't be out here doing this if it wasn't for you inviting me on. And again, it's not lost on me. I'm very grateful that I can do that for people because, I didn't have that myself, but again, I kind of just jump in and do things without thinking. So that's me.
That's where I'm at because I wouldn't have gone and done a Facebook Live had you not invited me. I was terrified of doing it. I don't know why. I was already doing readings one-on-one, but I was really afraid to get out and do it, to put myself out there. And so Michael invited me onto a show, and that's the first time that I did a Facebook Live, and it just rolled. It was so nice. And I thought, oh my gosh, I could do this.
Yeah.
I can do this.
It's not as scary.
It wasn't as scary. No. So thank you. Thank you for walking me through that.
Yeah.
And thank you for still tolerating me and still doing it with me.
Well, that's a two-way street, because anybody that could put up with me for more than, 2 hours, is a saint. So,
Now I'm stuck with her. No, let's kidding.
my job here is done. It's like, what
No,
about Bob,
no.
that scene where you got the other psychiatrist to take his patient?
You passed the buck. I'll take her.
No, you're both stuck with me.
All right, Stephanie Cox. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I love this woman. She's absolutely grounding and amazing.
Oh, I love you, Shannon. So my name is Stephanie Cox. I am a certified spiritual empowerment psychic medium. And basically what I do is I like to help others open up their mediumship skills, their psychic.
1 second.
Sure.
Lisa, would you mind muting your mic, sweetheart, for just a second? Sorry, some scratching going on. Go ahead, babe.
So I like to help others open up their mediumship and psychic abilities, and also help them understand their empathic abilities. And Michael, I'm totally with you, because in the beginning of my journey, well, let me start here, I guess. So in 2010, I had an afterlife experience, and I started having these remembrances. So I had a medical condition that hit me just like suddenly. And I remember sitting, it was basically a blood clot. It hit my lungs, and I was sitting in the physical therapy room, and I remember looking up and seeing this bright white light. And I kept thinking, no, am I dying in physical therapy? I kept thinking, I am not even going out like a Viking. I'm dying in physical therapy. This is not how I want to go. And I thought, no, I want to be with my husband. And so when I came back, I remember coming back and like sliding back into my body. And that whole day, I mean, I'm going through this process. They're doing all these scans and all these tests. And I'm thinking, the only thing on my mind was that real? Did that really happen to me? And so I started having remembrances of what I saw and the experiences I had when I was on the other side. And one of the biggest ones was I remember looking at my body and going, I'm energy. What does that look like for me? So that's really what started my whole journey. And what was really interesting was, like Michael, I didn't have anybody at the beginning. Nobody. My guide always teases me because he says, well, you had a dead guy that helped you every single day. And I really did. So he helped me every single day. He taught me how to understand my empathic abilities. He taught me how to understand my mediumship abilities when they started developing. And so that is exactly what I wanted to do for others. I wanted to be that support, because if they have that curiosity, I want them to know that they're not alone. But what's really nice is if they send me a message and say, Stephanie, I really need you to tap in and I need you to get me this message. And I'll say, no, because as a coach, as a mentor, I want you to learn how to empower yourself, because everybody has access to this energy and everybody can tap into it. But what kind of coach would I be if I just give you the answers? So I'm right there with you, Michael. Absolutely. So that's been my journey so far.
And I have witnessed that, because I have called to talk to her about stuff. And it got to the point, like, I started booking sessions because I didn't want every time I talked to her on the phone to be about, Shannon needing help. But I mean, there's been times she walks me through it instead of telling me or taking care of it. She has me go through those exercises with her. And that's been really, really helpful for me to take a step back and really like cut those attachments, see what's really going on, and, visualize what kind of energy is in my area and what I need to do to get rid of it. So I've always appreciated that.
Oh, good. I always have. It's always so, I enjoy talking to you every time we call.
I know. I was just like, but I don't want her to think I'm just taking advantage of her, because I mean, we could talk forever, and sometimes we do. So, but just knowing that you're there, it's just amazing to have you. So,
nope, I just guide you through the work. You do it. I'm just your guide.
Yep. Yeah, she has you do it, and she's correct. She is correct on that one. Okay, Lisa, y'all. this woman really, really pulled me out of a dark place, or at least I met her when I was coming out of a really dark place. I had started reading The Law of Attraction by Jerry and Esther Hicks. And so that really, I read that book over and over and over again. And I really started, understanding energy a lot more. My curiosities were peaking. And of course, when you turn on that little beacon of a light, a lot more things are going to start happening. A lot more abilities are going to start coming to you. You're going to become more intuitive. And so that's when about the time I met Lisa, and Lisa really helped me out. Lisa, why don't you tell me about yourself? And I love you. And she has been getting over getting sick. So bear with her. Her voice is a little sore today.
Okay. Hi. And thanks for tolerating my movement and stuff. I don't do live stuff. Although people tell me I should. Anyway, so sorry for the lighting and the lack of professionalism.
You are good. Don't worry.
But so I'm also the oddball. I was born this way, as we all are. I just was wide open, and and I was born into a very large family with a Italian family. So Paisan, Michael. But I was nurtured by my aunties and my grandmother, and but I also came in with I checked a lot of heavy boxes when I came into this place for my human experience. So I have a mother who is paranoid schizophrenic, and I had a lot of trauma as a very young, hit me very young and very fast, but I've always had my family around me. And so they nurtured me, and my gifts were very bright when I was young. And then as I got older, I realized that I was the weird girl. And so I turned them down a little bit to try to fit in. And then when I was in college, well, I was probably still in high school, I started dabbling with, I found a tarot deck, and I started dabbling, and it was too easy. It was way too easy. And then I had a really good friend who was from Turkey, and her mother was a very, very, she called herself a very wise woman. And I like that term. And she was gifted just like I was, and she recognized that in me, and she nurtured me a lot. She would come over to the States for a whole month every year, and I would spend the whole 30 days with her and her daughters, and it was wonderful. We drank Turkish coffee and smoked long cigarettes. It was a lot of fun, and I learned so much. And she was my mentor. After my family, she introduced me to other things that I had access to that I didn't know, coffee readings, connecting to my ancestors that weren't here anymore. She showed me how to do that. I've been in active practice, 35 plus years. I turned it down a little while I raised my 4 kids. And I have 2 grandchildren now. I am shifting my personal spiritual practice to more of that mentoring. It's important to give other intuitives not just guidance, but a safe place that's non-competitive. It just makes my head hurt when intuitives try to compete with each other, because there's no reason for it. Everybody's information is valid and important. And that's one of the environments that I like to create for people. And when they feel safe, not only do their gifts open up, but their connections become brighter. They gain confidence. And my favorite thing, like Michael, is I love to throw you under the bus. Oh, go do readings. Let's go. I got a fair book next weekend. Come share my booth with me. Yeah, I'll give you a day. Absolutely. I love doing that to people.
You did that to me, in your living room so many times. Here's a deck. Here, get a pendulum. What are you going to name it? Go pick one out. What are you going to name it?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, you just guided me, and took me out of my comfort zone. And
Mhm.
and I remember that reading I gave you on your couch with the tarot cards. That was a good one, though. It
It
turned out
was a
really
good
good.
one. Yeah.
But yeah, you've definitely interactive, and that's the thing about both of you ladies is just like you empower someone to learn.
That's also the best way, I think, is just to jump in and just do it. That's what Michael kept telling me, you
Mhm.
know, because I would ask him, well, how do I do it? You just do it.
Mhm.
You just
My
have to do
favorite
it.
line, my favorite line to tell people is be like Nike. Man, just be like Nike.
Just do
Just do it.
it. Oh goodness. So I'm so glad because earlier, like I live really close to Lockheed Martin and an Air Force base. I'm talking like a few hundred yards away, and it's always actually, oddly enough, very quiet. But about an hour before we were supposed to come on, all of a sudden it's like they were practicing for an air show. I couldn't hear myself think. So I am so grateful that stopped because I really wanted you to be able to hear me.
I was in
But
the Air Force for 20 years. I'm an air traffic controller. Oh, I still am. I do that civilian now, but so yeah.
awesome.
So that's a lot of the military in me. It's just like, just do it. I don't, we used to call it negative reinforcement. I'm like, no, I don't have the sympathy. I'm like, no, you're just going to do it. Sorry.
Right. Right. There's no option. There's no choice. Just do
Right.
it. Mhm.
Just do it.
Yep.
I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get there with live galleries. Like, just do it. I'm terrified.
Oh, that was the other thing too. It was like, I think it was 2 months into just figuring out what I was doing. And literally I was in a crystal shop that we just discovered, and there was 2 people up front, the manager and one of the other customers, and they were talking about being a medium and all this, or looking for one, and my wife's nudging me, go tell them you're a medium. I'm like, I'm not a medium. It was like literally 2 months into it. Go tell them you're a medium. So eventually I did, and we got to know him. And like a month after that, they're like, hey, would you do like a group reading? And I just talk, and I'm like, sure, why not? And then later I'm like, what did I just get myself into? But I tell you, it's like I kept putting myself in these uncomfortable situations and just doing it, because you're never going to feel comfortable. You're never going to, you got to learn to be okay with being uncomfortable.
Right.
And that's just the way it is. It's never going to be that I'm ready feeling. It's like, no, you're always going to have them nerves. You're always going to have that, I want to run the other way, 5 minutes before you go on. It's like, I don't know. You really got to have this mentality too, is I don't care what comes through. I don't care if I'm wrong.
Right.
And be okay, and mean it though. That's the thing with me. I don't care if I'm wrong. We're never going to be 100%.
Right.
It's like you give what you get, and it is what it is. Some nights they roll almost effortlessly, and the next night will be like pulling teeth. So there's so many things you got to get used to. But then going back to mentorship, when you have people that have been through that, and they can tell you that, hey, it's okay, that's normal. And that's what I didn't have at the beginning either. I thought I was alone with, the burnout too. There's so many topics that we can talk about, but just having those people that you can talk to and say, hey, I'm going through this. And they're like, yeah, that's normal. When I tell people, it's like, I've been doing gallery readings for 7 years now. I'm still uncomfortable. And they look at me like, you look so like calm. I'm like, I get a good poker face. That's about it.
Right.
So
I think that there's always those nerves before, a live gallery, whether it be even just like a Facebook demonstration like Michael and I did this morning, even private readings, private sessions, or group sessions that I do. I always have a little case of the nerves before. And I finally have just realized that that's just normal, because in the beginning I thought, why am I still nervous? Why can't I just go out and do this like it's no big deal? But for me, one thing I've learned is that it shows that I care. Like, I guess if I don't have those nerves and I'm not nervous about it anymore, I've just maybe become nonchalant about it, then maybe I need to take a break. So I've learned to embrace those nerves as a good thing.
I've learned to embrace my awkwardness.
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, I use a musician's analogy. A musician can practice a piece of music for months on end and go perform. We stand up in front of a crowd, and we don't know what the hell's about to happen. We proclaim to talk to people that aren't physically here. So there's no preparation. Right. It's like, all right, here I am, and where are you? But one thing I've learned over the short time I've done it, it's like they're always there. There's not one time where it's been completely silent, So again, it's just nice to be able to talk with other people that have experienced it to go, yeah, that's normal.
Right.
Yeah. I keep thinking one of these days it's just going to break.
Yeah.
Just like they always show up. You know, I can pretend that maybe they're not there, but they're there. They're there. Yeah.
Well,
So
go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's another thing that Michael helped me understand was there was a time when I would run myself into the ground because I thought if I stop, maybe it'll go away.
Right.
If I take a break, what's going to happen? Is my connection going to lessen? And so I felt like I had to keep going and going and going and going to build that. But what I've learned is that taking a break actually can strengthen that connection.
Makes you stronger. Yeah. Right.
And that you have to take those breaks because man, if you don't,
I take a lot. Yeah, I take a lot of breaks. When I was, I used to host paranormal events. I own Paranormal Explorations of America, and I would travel around the country. I had to think in last June. It was in June when I came up there to see you, Stephanie.
Yeah, I think it was
to Montana. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in 3.5 weeks, I was between Montana and Florida, 7 cities and states in 3.5 weeks. And I was just worn out. So taking breaks. But, and then you get so caught up in going fast and all the energy around you and different people's energy that you're investigating with and everything. I would take a lot of breaks, a lot of just backing out and grounding myself because I feel everything. So and just taking mental breaks and wearing yourself down and remembering to eat good, remembering to sleep good and everything. But yeah, breaks are important. So even just like when you're on an investigation, I like to go outside at least every hour or two and just take a 5-10 minute break just to regroup, ground yourself and go back in. And I think you get a lot more activity that way too, as well. But so the topics we're going to cover on, what our intent is with doing this show is it's a wide variety. A lot of it's going to be true crime, psychic detective work, mental illness, discussing trauma and how it affects energy and spirit. It's everything, wide ranged and, mediumship. We even have a surprise monk coming on. So that's all I say. We got.
It's not a surprise. He's my friend.
Well, I didn't know if we were going to let anybody know yet because we had talked about not letting.
Yeah, he is
go
a surprise.
Too quick. So
he is a surprise, but he's an amazing, amazing guy, and I can't wait until he comes on.
Yes,
I just can't wait.
We just want to cover different topics and kind of put some balance. Like one week have something like, crime related or, psychic detective work. And then the next week do something, with metaphysical and stuff like that. But we want to kind of balance it, but just, free conversation, bring people on that are, vested or understand, or just want to sit down and have a conversation with us because, I really rely on people like you guys to help me understand. That's how we grow. And I'm on a, I don't know everything for sure. And I won't even come close to claiming that, but I have a curiosity. I have a passion to understand more. I really care about understanding why that spirit's hurting, that soul, understanding why that child is hurting, understanding why that person is hurting, just in general, and trying to understand the psychological. A lot of what we're going to talk about is going to be a lot of psychological and psychology behind of it. So we're really digging deep and trying to get a wide variety of some really, unique guests for you guys. So episode 1
just got really quiet there for a minute.
So
no, if you want to talk about mediumship, I mean, there's, I see questions already in here, how can you develop your gifts? For me, I'll just share, again, when I started, I didn't really know what I was doing, but what I did was I just started doing readings for people. I started a Facebook group with the intent of just soliciting people to sit for me. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't have any, way of doing it. There was nothing. I just was like, all right, sit down. We'll see what happens. And that's literally how I started. I took a class, which led to another class with a very good friend of mine now. But again, she just gave me tools to work with, but it was up to me to just start doing it. And that's what I did. I was like, well, I got to figure this out. So I just started doing readings. I know I just repeated myself like 4 times, but then I discovered how information comes. I discovered how I feel the spirit. I don't see spirit with my eyes. There's nothing physical about it. It's all, internal. but I just started to notice certain patterns. Like, for instance, when males approach me, they're always on my right. When females step in, they're always on my left. I feel the relationship of the person that's stepping in. Like, if I'm sitting for, someone sitting for me, I'll feel, okay, this is dad. Where it comes from, I don't know. I just feel dad just stepped forward, but then again, it's just stuff I've discovered just by doing this, and it's always evolving. I'm sure everybody's experienced this, but once you feel I finally got it, I'm comfortable. It's like, wait a minute, now I'm not hearing spirit, but now I'm feeling stuff. What the hell's going on? It seems like you get comfortable, they change it up, because they don't want you to rely on just one sense, because there's spirit that they have their specialties too. So maybe this spirit come through, he can't give you the visuals, but he can send you thought words, for instance. So if you're not trying to if you're focusing on the visual, you're going to miss it, so.
Yeah, it was kind of the same for me too, Michael. So in the beginning, so this is kind of how I ended up doing readings, and it was way outside my comfort zone. And I remember a friend came by because, before, my friends always joke, because they'll say, Stephanie, you realize you were IT before you started talking to dead people, right? So I was an IT gal, and I had a friend, and she called and she said, Stephanie, can you make a video for a friend of mine? Her daughter passed away, and her daughter was 32. And I said, sure, not thinking anything about it. And so she brought all these pictures, and all these pictures are scattered all over my kitchen table. And I start going through these pictures, and all of a sudden everything shifts, and I can see her sitting there, and I can feel her emotion, and I start crying. And then the woman looks at me like, Steph, why are you crying? You don't know who she is. So now I'm going, I have to explain to her what's going on. So for me, it was all psychometry, but I didn't know what that was at the beginning. And so it was really interesting, because like you said, Michael, it really is just about getting to know yourself, because everybody is so different when it comes to developing your mediumship abilities. And they do want you to tap into literally all of your five senses. What are you seeing, feeling, hearing, smelling, tasting? Well, the energy in the room, is it shifting? What does it feel like to you? So it's all different for everybody. So eventually I graduated from, and it happened so fast, it was like a snowball effect. So it graduated from, needing a picture to all of a sudden people would just be standing there. If they were talking about them, they would just be standing there. And at first I wasn't sure exactly what to do with that or how to handle that. So I was flying by the seat of my pants. And I remember my guide telling me, Stephanie, I'm just throwing you in the deep end, because that's the best way to do this. And I went, no, it's really not. Like, I would go into a panic attack, and he would go, calm down, you got this, But it was really interesting in the beginning, because everything just kind of stepped up from there. You get an upgrade every so often. So I started talking to chakras and body parts and all kinds of different energies in the universe. And it was just, an amazing journey. But at the time when everything started happening, I didn't know what to think. I really did not. But you're right. It really is just pay attention to your senses. I love it.
One of the things that I do with mentorship is small groups. I have a series of questions that I ask them. And then small groups, it allows you to create the psychic bleed, right? We all know what that is. We put us all in the room. We're all getting the same info, just in our own personal ways, right? I find those are great ways to not just learn how your intuitive information comes in, but to strengthen it too by doing readings. But not just flipping the cards, using your senses like you guys were talking about. I have an absurd amount of tarot decks and oracle cards. It was an obsession for years, right? I have an absurd amount of pendulums too. Now my new thing is pendulum mats. Ooh,
we all need an intervention with these divination tools.
Yeah,
they're just, for me, they're just collector's items. When I do readings, if people sit with me now, it's just conversation. I might hold your hand, to stimulate that psychometry that you were talking about, Stephanie. or maybe they bring me pictures to look at. But very rarely, if I'm pulling my deck of cards out for you, it's because you need a visual. It's not because that's where I'm getting the information, right?
Mhm.
So stair stepping that, is what I found that has really worked. The other thing is those new gifts that you guys were talking about. Those are a good time. I'll never forget the first time I heard an animal talk to me. Oh
Oh
my
my God,
Oh
yes.
yeah.
oh my gosh. The amount of emotion that I could not control. I think back to that moment and I just shake my head and I think, oh my gosh, I went from being a seasoned spiritual practitioner to kindergarten again. It was
Yeah.
like, whoa,
Yeah.
no. I just, that was really hard, transitioning, because then you connect with an energy that doesn't have a voice. It's all emotion.
Yeah, for
Oh,
me, I find they connect the same way though. I'll say this really quick because I was doing a reading for she's a good friend of mine now, but towards the end of the reading, she's like, "Do you connect with animals?" I'm like, "Well, I never have, but let's give it a try." Next thing I know, I'm talking to her horse. Her horse steps forward. I'm like, and he's communicating the same way that a person would in spirit, right?
Yep.
So I'm just
Yeah.
going to go with this. All of a sudden, the horse, I'll never forget this. The horse is telling me he had dementia. And then he shows me his pen and he shows me how he used to walk into the fence post. And then he would sit there and constantly just walk into the side of the barn, bumping his head. So I relay this to her and she starts crying. She goes, "Yeah, that's exactly what he had. He had dementia and he would do exactly that." I was like, "Oh my God, I'm talking to freaking horses now."
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had to do the same thing with animals. I had a lady reach out to me and she said, have you ever done a reading, specifically a mediumship reading for an animal? And I said, no, I haven't, but let's give it a shot. And I was amazed. Just like Michael said, they come through just like people. And there is something so pure and so the animals, like I agree with you, Lisa, the emotions that come through with animals. And I think that's why you just feel it. They're so amazing. And I love it. Love when animals come through. I would like to be able to communicate with animals more. I guess I don't really set my intentions to it. It's just that if they come through, they come through.
Right.
Yeah, they show up.
Yeah,
Right.
they just show, like we had a horse show up today, right, Michael? A white horse. Speaking
Yeah.
of horses. So it happens. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's amazing. And it just blew my mind that we got through that reading and the detail that this little dog showed me. And the whole time I was just trying to like act like I wasn't in awe that I was talking to this dog. But I was like, we got off of that reading and I was like, oh my God, I talked to a dog. This is like the best.
Mhm.
It was
It was
just
so
amazing.
Yeah, the first time I ever connected with it, it kind of caught me off guard because I was connecting with this woman and she wanted to connect with her dad. But it was really interesting because the energy shifted and I could see at first I kind of almost jumped out of my chair because I saw this giant spider on the ground. And I went, what is happening here? Like, it's taking everything for me to not move because I can see it in depth and I can see it in 3D and I can see it in detail. And I'm going, what is going on? So I look at this woman and I'm like, this sounds like a strange question, but I see a giant spider. And she looks at me and she goes, oh my God, that's because we dressed our dog up. I can't remember what his name was.
Oh no.
For Halloween spider. And I went, oh, thank God. Because I didn't know what I was seeing. That was like the first experience I'd ever had with an animal, but it was so cool. I loved it.
Can I share something really
Information.
quick?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just really, this is my favorite. I mean, it's crazy. I've done all these readings with people, but the animals, this one right here is like, this is the top. Because this right here, someone had asked a question about trust in the chat just a minute ago. Do you trust, and there's times where you question everything. I was doing this reading for this family, right? And towards the end, the one daughter hadn't said anything the entire night. And finally, she's like, do you connect with pets? And I'm like, funny enough, I just started to. Excuse me. But I won't go through the whole reading, but I'll share this. So I'm relaying messages from this dog, and he kept showing me a milk bone dog biscuit, and I ignored it the first time. I'm like, well, it's a dog. Obviously, I'm going to see a biscuit. But he showed it to me again. And then the third time I was like, all right. I said, your dog has showed me this little gray milk bone dog biscuit like 3 times. You know, I know this is common, but what does it mean? Her jaw literally drops. She stands up. She reaches in her pocket, pulls out a gray milk bone. She goes, I brought this here for him tonight. I was speechless. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I was like, that did not just
fantastic.
happen.
I love it.
Yeah,
You
so
know?
that goes back to the second guessing, right? And
Yeah.
the answer is yes, because sometimes I see images or I have this knowing of something, and in my then I try to see if it makes sense, which is what I don't need to be doing, right? But my
Right.
mind tries to rationalize it, and I'm like, that makes no sense, just like your spider, Stephanie.
Yeah.
And so I've learned that if it doesn't make sense, I still need to put it out there, because just because it doesn't make sense to me, the sitter, it makes sense to the
Yes.
sitter.
You're
Well,
absolutely right.
I had an experience where with my old roommate, her beautiful dog had passed, and it was less than a week after that. And I just, all of a sudden, I got this, I mean, it smelt awful. I mean, it was just awful. I was like, I could taste it, I could smell it. And everybody in the room was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And I got the sense, and she was like, it's Sasha, you're connecting to Sasha. But like for like a few weeks there, I was smelling odd stuff that nobody else could smell. And I'm like gagging, like, you don't smell that. And they're like, no, we don't smell that. I mean, it's just weird. So I haven't really had any connection with, pets except for that. But it was just, it was just weird because I felt her dog's energy at that point, but I just don't hear them, if that makes any sense. But
Yeah, I'm with you, Jen. It's like when I don't know. And I learned the same thing really early on. Whatever images I got, I would just give them. Like my very first reading, for example, and I was so scared. I mean, my heart was beating really fast. I wasn't sure if I was even speaking English, but I mean, I was with this woman, and I kept seeing this like box, and then she'd show me the bed and a box and I'm like, I don't understand what that means. So I just told the woman, I said, she's showing me a box, she's showing me the bed. I don't know if it's a bed under the box or what it was, but anyway, probably a week later, the woman sent me a picture. It wasn't a box. It was actually a journal. It looked like a box to me because it was kind of like a thick little journal. And in the back of it had a bunch of stuff she really needed to know, but she would have never even looked anywhere around the bed if I hadn't have told her, which was really interesting. Mm-hmm. And even future readings, I thought, man, that's a really good lesson for me to just say it, because it doesn't mean anything to me, but I just
it's not yours.
Right.
Right. And that's the other thing, is that spirit's not wrong. Like that was just misinterpretation. It looked like a box.
Exactly.
But it was a book. And so we just have to throw it out there. That's what I see, I say. That's what I've had to learn, whether it makes any sense to me or not. And a lot of times it doesn't in the moment.
It's like playing Pictionary with spirit. Sounds like
I have a really good example of that. This is back in Greeley, actually, Shannon, back in the day.
Sister.
I went to this old restaurant to do readings for this. The restaurant manager wanted to give all of her staff, her seasonal staff, a reading before they went off to college. And she picked me, and so I go, and this gal sits with me, and she's young, she's in college, and as soon as she sits down, I keep seeing this ball bounce by, and I'm like, okay. So my brain goes, because this is what I do with balls, my brain goes, oh, I see a red ball. This poor girl, she picked up that ball in the image, and she's trying so hard to make it fit into her world. She's like, red ball, red ball, red ball, red ball. Finally, she goes, could it be blue? And I said, absolutely, it's probably blue. And she burst into tears. She was a caregiver for a very young child that had disabilities.
Oh.
And the child didn't make it, and they rolled back and forth this blue ball. That was my lesson as to making sure that I didn't change the color of the ball. I should have just said, I see a ball, but my brain, because I'm traumatized by dodgeballs because I grew up in the 70s.
Oh, me too. So yeah.
Any kind of ball, I close my eyes and think, yeah.
I think we're all traumatized by
those
those.
void tattoos on the side of the face.
Yes, exactly. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I
But
want to
that was-
apologize, guys. I cannot see all the chat that's going on. I'll work on that for the next show. So thank you for everyone who was involved in the chat feed. I just can't see all of them right now, okay? Unless they pop up on there.
Hey, Shannon, quick question, because I have seen some about like how do we connect with, you know, like me, Michael, and everybody here. So I don't know if that's something you're going to do. I don't know. I'm kind of new to this world.
What do you mean? How do we?
How do you get a hold of these guys?
Right.
Oh, yeah, we were going to do that towards the end. Everyone get their
Beautiful.
credentials. Yeah, like, you know, your websites, links where people can find you. We're definitely going to cover that. Absolutely. Because I
Awesome.
want you guys to be able to reach out to them because they're amazing. We want to share them. Tonight's really about honoring them and what they meant to us. So we're just sharing the love. They're
Beautiful.
great people.
Well, I just personally would like to get Stephanie and Michael and Jen's information just to have more friends in my life. So,
Yeah, definitely.
and it's always
Yeah,
great to meet
absolutely.
colleagues and support each other in this non-competitive business.
That's true. I mean,
I'm totally
touched
with
on
you,
that.
Lisa. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's more dead people than any one person can
Oh my
communicate
God,
with. It's
right?
like, oh my God, there's no communication. There should be absolutely
Right.
no competition.
No,
there is more
never,
than
ever.
enough to go around. There's a shortage of mediums, for crying out loud.
Well, I mean, honestly, we're all here to lift the consciousness and the vibration of the planet, right? So
Right.
it's going to take all of us to do it, and all of us working together and bringing the right energy to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And the
Yeah.
thing is, I think people need to understand is, you know, we're normal people. Well, I'll say normal for me, quotation marks, but you know, it's like I've received that comment more than once. It's like, you're so normal, down to earth. I'm like, look, and I joke about this, but I was like, I look at Spirit, I'm like, remember, you guys picked me. I'm not vegan. I'm not
Right.
going to stop drinking alcohol. I'm going to eat steaks. I'm going to cuss like a sailor. You picked me. Just remember that.
Right. Exactly.
And that's so funny because that's one of the things that I really like about you, Michael, is that you are just down to earth. And I remember very clearly the very first communication that I had, and I was just saying, no, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. I don't meditate a whole lot. I surely don't do it right. I eat meat, like I'm just a regular person. This can't be happening. But that's the stereotypical, you know,
Yeah.
that's how we stereotype mediums. And so I kept thinking, like, I don't fit into this box. This can't be happening. Surely I'm just going crazy.
I'll be honest. I had a woman one time, she came to my office, and as soon as I opened the door, she looked at me and she's like, "You're the medium." And I said, "Yes, I'm the medium." And she goes, "Well, you know, I guess she thought I was going to be dressed up in like the garb and the whole like gypsy
Oh,
style."
you didn't.
And I don't readings with cards, and so I never did. And so she looked at me going, "You don't do cards either?" But I mean, she became a returning client, so I must have done something right. But like that stereotype, when she left, I was kind of scratching my head going, yeah, I guess that is a stereotype out there. So let's change that. Because I'm with you. I'm like, I drop the F-bomb all the time. My guy.
Oh my God.
Oh, don't. Yeah.
And do it with love, Steph.
Yeah. Spirit too. It's like, if they tell me, and I forewarn any gallery, I'm like, I don't edit. If they come through and they cuss, like, you're going to get it exactly how they're giving it.
Exactly.
And I remember I'm sorry. Did you need to say something, Shannon?
We're just not going to do that tonight, though, right?
No.
Hey, but when we hit leave studio, we're gonna let them fly.
I am editing myself, just so you know.
No, I was just laughing because when I sent Michael, oh, go ahead. I was just laughing because when I sent Michael the invitation, I said, but there's no cussing.
Yeah. I can edit and watch my mouth very, very closely when I have to. But I remember the first time a spirit, this, I'll never forget another reading, but the kid, I was like, I always ask a spirit before they go, like, what do you let, for instance, it was his mom. I said, what do you do to let your mom know you're around? I didn't even get the thought out. And he's like, I fart. And I was like, so this is naturally, my audiences are 90% female. So I sit down and I'm like this, and I'm like, how do I say this? And I'm laughing, and I'm like, you're going to just wait a minute. And finally I composed myself, and I was like, oh, look, I don't know any other way to put this, but I told the mom, I said, your son, I said, I just asked, what do you do to let your mom know you're around? And without hesitation, he says, I fart. And her jaw dropped. She stands up, and there was somebody 3 rows back. She's like, I knew it. She goes, I was at work the other day. I was in my cubicle. All of a sudden, I smelled this sulfur smell. And she goes, she's asking, who did that? Nobody else smelled it. I said, well, your son is, that's him.
So there's a comment on there about saying that just means you're genuine. And that's honestly that it really does. And I start most of my sessions by saying, look, the way it comes across is the way that I'm going to say it.
Right.
Some of that is language that I don't use on, a normal day. I had one reading, and I started off calling this guy all sorts of names. I just started calling him names and that I would never call anyone. And he just started laughing. He's like, that's exactly how he said hi to me. It wasn't, hey brother. It was,
I had that same thing, Jen. So there were two lessons in this reading. Okay. The first one was a woman called me and she said, can you do a reading for my boyfriend? And I said, sure. So when I opened the door, because they both came for the reading, she wanted to be there as his moral support. And so when I opened the door, I look up and there is this big guy. He is a biker. And I'm looking and I'm going, oh my God. I looked at my guy and I said, are you kidding me right now? This guy, he's going to pummel me if I don't give him the right answers. Right. So my guy goes, no, Steph. And he looked right at me. He starts smiling. He goes, don't judge a book by its cover. And I said, oh, valid point. Okay. So I brought the guy in, I sat him down, and it was the first time I had ever really heard a guy start swearing. And I looked at and it took me at least 2 minutes to look at the guy and say, does your dad swear a lot? And he looks at me and he goes, yes, that is him. And he just goes, what is he saying? And he's so excited to hear his dad just drop the F-bomb and the S-bomb all over the place. And then all of a sudden I see this big jug of beer hit the table, and I went, oh, does he like beer? Yes. And then just went rolling. And it was one of the most fun readings I had ever done. But first of all, it was don't judge a book by its cover. Second of all, just let it rip, Steph. Just be who you are. Just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's one thing about readings is that they're fun.
They are.
They really are. They're not all, doom and gloom and sad. There's a lot of laughs in them. They bring a lot of joy. There is emotions behind it, and there's healing, but there are also some moments that I will never forget that I have laughed. I mean, I have laughed with my client until tears have come out of my eyes. We have just laughed. Spirit is absolutely amazing in what they bring through. There's a reason that they do that, right? They want us to laugh.
Yeah, they don't want us sitting here crying in our beer.
No.
They understand that the physical separation is there, but it's they want you to understand that they're having a good time. They're still, their personality, they're still intact.
Right. They're bringing their personality right into that reading, and you just channel that and you give that to the person who's there.
Right.
See, I only pick up on stuff when it's like I said, I'm not a psychic medium. I'm not. I don't pick up on that stuff. I don't walk around it, but I'm able to definitely pick up on energy, on presence. I'm very intuitive when spirits are around, and I connect with a lot. I can see a lot. I see full body apparitions. They show me it. But I'm not a psychic medium, but I'm able to see it, and it just, yeah.
But I think you are.
I think you
I
are.
was just going to say, did you hear how many times
I think you are.
I don't walk around.
Wasn't?
Whenever it happens, it's when spirit wants it to happen. But when someone walks it to me and asks me a question, to read them on cue, and I'm just like, that's the last thing you should do to me, because I will back up in a corner. I don't know why maybe to work with that, but my mom tells me that I need to really put myself out there more. And I'm like, but I'm comfortable where I'm at. I like working with people like you guys and putting my 2 cents in, you know, like when I have my dreams, Jen, and I call you and you're like, that's a case that I'm working on. I'm like, no way, you know, stuff like that. You know, when I have experiences, I want to share them. Like Stephanie up there at the Dumas brothel. When I was like, when the kittens were going around, my dead kittens, a litter of them going around my leg. And then I had like a passed on brothel, speakeasy, like security guy from way back when, like patting my head and creeping on me from behind me. And I'm feeling all this. Stephanie's laughing.
I'm laughing because I'm like, I don't know where all these cats are coming from, but we eventually found out where they came from. There was a litter of cats that had passed away in the building. So we finally figured out where they came from.
Well,
And
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying is I'm sitting in this chair and I'm feeling these kittens. I'm feeling them jump. I couldn't see them, but I could feel them. I felt them going around my legs, jumping up on my legs. And then I've got this man that I can feel. You don't have to touch me for me to feel you. And I was feeling him. I'm like, Stephanie, he's right behind me. She's like, yeah, he likes you. Oh, he really likes you. And I'm just like, so I felt very violated by kittens and a speakeasy, like, you know, brothel speakeasy, like security guy. That was an intense night as it was anyway. So
it was fun though.
That's what?
It was fun though.
Oh yeah, it was fun though. Absolutely. No, I had a great time. It's always a great time. I want to come up there again to the Dumas. Is it Dumas or Dumas? Is it either way?
You know, there are people who say Dumas and there's other people who say Dumas. So I don't think there's really a
potato.
Yeah.
I was going to say it a different way, but I can't because we're on.
In a lot of ways, we do a lot of ways to say that.
We are on verbiage restriction, guys.
I just had this flashback of Shawshank Redemption where he's in the library and he's like, they're reading out the authors and he says it the way he should. And he's like, no, that's Dumas. Dumas or Dumas.
So there's a comment. There's just a comment here that I wanted to look at. It just jumped up. My goodness. Area 51 says, so weird. My cousin passed away 4 months ago. And that's what my aunt says, her mother, to laugh and live and not to be sad. And then they say, wow, just wow. Here's the thing. One of the best ways that we can honor our past loved ones is to live our life. Right. And to be happy. Obviously there's grieving and everybody grieves different, and that looks different for everybody, and there's a different timeline. But when I do readings, there's a lot of laughing, a lot of laughter that comes through. And so I always say that's one of the best ways to honor those that we love that are on the other side, because it's really what they want to see.
Right. Yeah. And they're here to help us.
Yeah.
Now they can help us in a way that we wouldn't accept it when they were alive. Right. A lot of times, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my brothers, the last thing they want us to, you know, like I said, I got 2 brothers and a sister, and my 2 brothers were the biggest clowns in the world. And I'm like, that's the last thing they want anybody doing is crying about them. You know, like, no.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys are right, because literally almost every reading that I have, especially when I'm connecting to people's loved ones, where they're, the thing is that is the big message. We want you to be happy. We don't want you to feel guilt. We don't want you in sadness, and we don't want you sinking down into grief. It's understandable to experience the pain and the grief, but they always tell me I don't want them sinking down into it and staying there. That's what because I want them to be happy, and I want them to grow, and I want them to expand.
And I think the other thing, but the work that we do, you know, it shows people that this is a temporary existence. This physical experience is temporary, you know, and I think if they put things in perspective that way, that, yeah, it's always sad to say goodbye to somebody, but it's not really a goodbye. It's like, hey, I got some work to do here. We'll catch up here in a few, you know, that's what I look at it as. It's like, you know, we'll catch up. We'll see you soon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. If you guys out there don't know, see, I'm going to get teary-eyed.
I know. It's okay.
I'm sorry. My best friend died yesterday, and oh yeah, it was a really hard one. But when he almost died back in the summertime, I made him promise me, like we were both crying on the phone. I'm like, you promise me, you let yourself be known to me every day. You come around, you do funny stuff. I was like, you promise me that you will do that for me. And he's like, I promise you. Okay, so I got goosebumps. When I walked in the door before I knew he was at the hospital, I walked, this is the kind of storyline. His girlfriend of 7 years passed away. He went to the restroom, came back out, and she had died of a heart attack. He tried for like 30 minutes to resuscitate her before they got there. It wasn't possible. It literally broke his heart. I mean, he was not able to recover from that. So he basically, fast forwarded some cirrhosis, and that's what took him over. But I didn't know. He was in the hospital for 6 days, and I talked to him on Saturday, and he was, telling me about what was going on with him and how he was feeling. But when I walked the night before last, I walked in the door from outside, didn't know he was in the hospital. And I thought there were little moths that fluttered in, and I knew they weren't real because when you see stuff like that, that you see it, but you also know it's not here and now.
Right.
And I was like, 2 of them. And I'm like, but I started thinking after I found that he passed away, it was because he was already on the ventilator at that point, and I didn't know, is that he called his ex his butterfly. He's not his ex, I'm sorry. He called her his butterfly, and he was just so, that song Whiskey Lullaby, such a broken heart. He was so hurt. But when I found out he was in the hospital, I'm like, it wasn't moths, they were butterflies. He was showing me they were together because there were 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I talked to his sister, and I tried to stay up as late as I could. I ended up falling asleep at a little after 1. Well, about 1:40 something, she called me, but on a video chat, but I was asleep. I didn't get it. So it took a while the next day, but I knew, and I talked to Jen about, like, I know something's going on. I know something happened because he came to me. He literally came to me and was talking to me. I could feel him. I didn't see him, but I could feel his energy. Just as when I gave him a hug, I was feeling that energy transfer. Mm-hmm. But when I found out at work the next day, I worked from home, like actually right here. All of a sudden, my keyboard starts hitting K, 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 and it would take a break. There'd be a big space, then K, 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 K again. Well, that song, Grease 2 was our favorite song. We would be like girls having a sleepover, like a slumber party, like sing Grease 2, like Cool Rider and all that stuff with Michelle. Me and a guy would sit there, singing that stuff, but he would always tell me in messages and stuff. He'd say, cool Rider. So that was like, I knew it was him. He was giving me little messages. And then I saw an eagle fly past about 10 yards outside my window, whatever, back and forth about 15 times, back and forth. I got some pictures of it. Literally right there. And there was just little things. I felt him grab my hand. This is the ring he made me he made my wedding ring for my ex and me. So I wear it on my right hand. It was a wedding gift. He was a master jeweler. I felt him grab my hand and hold that. So I just want to say, like, it's amazing the connection you can have and the things that'll happen when someone passes. And it made me feel better. Once I started experiencing all that, I got excited because you know what? He kept his promise to me. And
those connections don't die with the death of the physical body.
Mm-mm.
They just change. And so we have to be, and you're aware of that, right? Mm-hmm. And so you saw those signs. I think that's beautiful.
I blew your phone up about it. I was like, oh, guess what just happened? Like,
it's okay.
It made it easier. It made it easier because he wasn't just a friend. A lot of people don't know is we dated for a while before we decided, whoa, we're just friends. And what wonderful friends we had. We had a connection and a trust. So I just want to take a moment to talk about just to honor him too, as well. And, in memory of him, Emmanuel Elizondo, Manny. So I'll get off.
Can I throw something out there? And this is how it sometimes works. Is there something about a piercing? Ever since you started talking, I keep feeling this thing to talk about a piercing. And I feel that there's something funny about a piercing. So
we're not going to talk about that.
Well, that's fine, but I keep going.
That would be typical of him to say something like that. Yes.
Okay. Because he's like trying to get me to laugh because he's like, what are you showing me? I will not talk about, but he's like, I'm like, okay, I get it.
I didn't get the
laughing.
I didn't get the piercing, but what I got was like, I just really felt like all of this love shift right into my heart and how much love he has for you. Like a lot of love. Like, this really deep connected love. And I just want to share that. And that I just love all the different messages that all of us mediums can get. I love that.
Yeah. So that was a rough one. I was like, am I going to be able to do this tomorrow? Yes, I'm going to be able to do the show tomorrow. But it was just so cool, and all the emotions and everything. But yes, love. We didn't want to be together as a couple, but we wanted to be together as a soul connection. That's why I was like, you can't leave me when you leave me.
Shannon, did we have a beer with him when I was in Texas?
I believe so. Hispanic guy,
Yeah, big guy.
really respectful.
Real,
Yeah.
real sweet. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. Because I keep seeing a beer, and I don't drink. What was it? Bud
Well,
Light.
he died of complications with cirrhosis. So
Okay. Well, I think it's a Bud Light bottle that I'm seeing. Um, I'm a craft beer snob, so
he was a Miller Lite, Miller Lite, and
Miller Lite,
Jaeger.
round bottle. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm over here seeing ketchup, and I have no idea what's going on with ketchup.
Grease too. Ketchup. We would make jokes about. You can eat a
Oh.
burger with no ketchup. I'm telling you, we were like little preteen girls in junior high having a sleepover, playing that musical movie and singing it. Because when we met, when I told us what my favorite movie, he asked me was Grease 2. He's like, "Shut up." And I'm like, "What?" So we went and bought the DVD that day. It's like, so we watched it all night, and it was just,
So it's
we were just
literal.
ridiculous friends.
It's
Yeah.
literal catch up, not catch up. So you were talking, gotcha.
Yeah, he was an amazing person. I just yeah, he's going to be missed, but like I said, he's still here. And I told him, I want you to make a point to do things to let me know. I know you're going to be there, but I want you to do things. And right off the bat, he was doing things to let me know.
Mhm.
So, and I appreciate that. So, all right, guys, we're getting a little closer towards the end, but I don't want this to end without getting you guys to be able to talk about how people can connect with you, how they can, either book with you or follow you on social media or your website. So I guess we'll just start with the top right corner with Stephanie, and then we'll go to Lisa and then to Michael to make sure we get that information in and not cut it short for anyone.
So there's a few ways you can actually reach me. I have a website, stephaniecox.com, stephaniecox.com. And then also I have a Facebook page, which is basically Stephanie Cox. And then also I have a group page that is called Awaken Your Intuition, which I like to post a lot of free content to help people understand their empathic abilities, understand inner work or shadow work. I also have a lot of content around being a psychic and a medium. So that is called Awaken Your Intuition. And all of my email information is on my Facebook page and my website, as well as all of my contact information.
Awesome.
You can find my website is ravenreadingsbylisa.com. My Facebook page, you can find me on Facebook with my name, Lisa Camerlo. I didn't think, I don't know, I just put Lisa up here. But my last name is Camerlo. And you can find me on Facebook that way, or on my spiritual page, which is Raven Readings, Insight for Practical Life. I'm also on Instagram under Insight 120. And that was numerology because 3 is my number. It didn't make sense. We're like 120. I'm like, yeah, okay. Nobody gets it. Yeah, that's how you can find me. ravenreadingsbylisa.com. And my email and all of that, my personal contact information is on my social pages if you need to reach me, or you can always contact Miss Shannon Rogers there and she'll pass you along, I'm sure.
I would love to
Thank
share
you.
you out. I'll share you fine. All right, Michael.
Yeah, so Facebook it's just Michael Christopher Evidential Medium. That's my Facebook page. I do have a YouTube channel that I'm just starting to finally put videos like my lives. I'll do lives and I'll stream them to Facebook and to YouTube. My website's michaelchristophermedium.com. I'm not doing private readings right now. I'm just coming back after taking like a 3-month hiatus. So I'm kind of just slowly working my way back. But I hope to resume them soon. But yeah, and that's where I'm at.
Thank you. Jen, where can you be found?
I have a private Facebook group, and so you do have to ask to join, and it's Jennifer Lee Intuitive Medium. And then you can find my website is jenniferleepsychic.com. And There's an email, and there's all of that on those 2 places. But if you guys want to come join my group, I would love it, because it's growing a little bit slow simply because it is a private group. So come on over.
All right. And I guess my contact information, this is episode 1. So I would love to get to know any of you guys out there that would want to get to know me or these guys. I have a lot of my stuff or information, if you want to see a little bit of what I've done, on paranormalexplorationsofamerica.com. And I know it's a long website name. It was just, I wanted to make sure to put it all there. And then, my Facebook page is just as my title is right there, Shannon M. Rogers. And let's see, I'm on Instagram, but I can't even remember what I changed it to. But we just started a YouTube page, and that should be up and running next week to be able to watch it either here on the YouTube page for the Unex Network, or our Facebook page, which is going to be the Calling, the Forgotten Files. And we're going to start putting content on there, and we're going to have it on a lot more platforms. We just have to get everything up and going. And so let's see, I just want to really thank you guys for coming on, and, because we were like, what do we do for our first episode? I'm like, let's just make it really laid back, talk to people that are important to us, and just have a round table. So I really, really appreciate y'all being here. And we got a lot of really cool stuff planned. And also y'all are going to be coming back on as, guests, just, solo as well. So
look at Michael.
Thank you for the invitation, Shannon and Jen. It was great to meet you guys.
Oh, we got a little bit. We got a little bit of time left.
Oh, okay.
I was just going to throw out really quick. If you go to my page or Michael Christopher's page, you can see demonstrations, because we do live. So you can see some mediumship demonstrations on there. I don't know about Stephanie or Lisa's. I do try to get on. Yeah. I try to get on about once a week.
You can see me triggering Jen's Alexa. That's my favorite.
Quiet.
I saw y'all earlier on your live when y'all were talking about Alexa.
You guys stop. She's going to start.
She's listening.
She is listening.
She's always listening. Yeah, so we did do a live today together. I did one with Michael, and those are always really fun. It just brings a whole different kind of energy to it. And so, yeah, that's always nice.
We need to have a get together. We need to plan like a coming together, like meet up in a certain area. I recommend Dumas Brothel up in Montana. It would blow your mind. I can't wait to go back up there.
I'm in North Dakota, so I'm right in the middle. So
I've never been to Montana. It's on my list.
I am jonesing to go back. Like, that place is insane with energy. I mean, and the stories behind it and what you experience there. Some funny, some not so funny. I mean, it's just riddled with all kinds of different stories, and a lot of really sad stuff. The way those women were treated down in the basement. I mean, it was awful. It was really horrible. Y'all want to go hang out?
Yeah.
I'm in.
It'd be a lot of fun.
Yep. Too funny. So yeah, I don't really do much investigating anymore. I definitely don't do events. I do stuff with friends. I was asked to do an abandoned hospital in Texas. I'm gonna find out if it's gonna be non-disclosed or not, by the chief of the police there. And so I got a team together, so I've scheduled it in February. I can't wait to do that. And I brought on some really good, fun friends in the field that are very unique, and we all get along. So I can't wait to do that. But I just don't investigate like I used to. I used to do it 1 to 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a lot. It was a lot. It drug me down. And that's why I did. I took a step back. I realized that I was going down this path that wasn't being true to myself. I was having fun, but that fun wasn't fun anymore. And not that I don't love the paranormal fields and everything. It was just, I needed to slow down, because it was just too much energy and I absorb all this energy all the time. And so, yeah, it was just too much for me, but poor Lisa.
That was me last week. I lost my voice. And again, being air traffic control, I go to work, and it was just like, luckily the worst of it was on my days off, because the day before my break, it was like squeaky till I'd go to key up to talk, and it'd be like just weird squeaky sounds. I'm like, oh no, this is not good.
And you did a live with your voice like that too, didn't you?
Yeah,
That
because
was
it was
kind of
scheduled
rough.
like 2 months ago. So I'm like, well, here we go. I'll just
Yeah.
little
Gotta
Jack
do it.
Daniels, clear it out. We're good.
Like,
Well, Shannon, you were talking about having fun, and Michael and I actually talked about that today. In fact, I think that was the group message at the end. Really was, if you're not having fun in what you're doing,
mhm.
you have to keep an element of fun in it. I think especially when we're doing this, because there gets to be some heavy stuff.
Oh yeah.
And
Right.
so you have to keep an element
Right.
of fun in it, and you have to enjoy it. If you don't,
Yeah.
it's time to step back and take a break.
And be mindful of the energy that you're allowing in your space as well, as
Right.
far as not just spirit, but people also. There's a
Yes.
lot of really amazing, beautiful people that are out there doing these things, but a lot of them are either, there's some that are energy vampires, or there's some that, just ego driven, and, not talking bad about them, but I just can't, that consumes me when I'm around people's energy like that. It becomes, that's why I take breaks all the time. It was just getting overwhelmed. So I was like, I want to do a podcast and just slow down, do things because I don't leave my house anymore. I work from home. My mom will like, you want to come over and have dinner like once a week? And I'm like, I got to put pants on. It's like,
Right.
I even let my son have my car all the time now. I'm like, do you want me to bring it back? And I'm like, no, I'm good. But it just makes it easier. So he brings Liam home for me and everything. So I just don't leave the house anymore. I've completely made a 180 from going 90 nothing, stressed out, just imploding on myself, to just really learning how to relax. Because I'm coming out of a really, I guess, traumatic ordeal these last few months. I've been in like a healing process.
Mhm.
And so when I decided to start doing, to do a podcast, it was just like, I need something to focus on, but I want to talk about these things. I want to have something I'm passionate about instead of just doing what everybody else is doing. I wanted to have something, and that's when Jen came along. And I ramble a lot. I told him before the show, it's like, if I start rambling,
I was just gonna
intervene.
I was just gonna tell you, Shannon, that break time, that's where the growth happens.
Right.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right. In taking that little, well, not a little break, it can be a big break, but honestly, that's where the growth happens. I think when we just keep going and going and going and going and going, we burn out, and we also don't take any downtime to actually learn and to reset.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that's where your growth is going to happen.
And you got to be true to yourself. You've got to listen to your higher self. You've got to get in alignment with that to have any sort of peace, and that's what I'm working on, is getting in. I need to start meditating again. I know I do. Not to be like that, meditate, just because I know I've been down that path. I used to live pretty dang close up for my level at the time in alignment. And then all of a sudden it just, and I would look back sometimes and go, man, I was really, positive all the time. I was really pinging positive energy all the time. Like, what happened to me? What happened to me? And then and I kept going, like, I want to get back to that place. No, because I've evolved since then. I need to find my new place, and see where I belong with. You're muted, baby.
I was coughing. No, I was just saying that you needed that downtime. You got tired, and spirit, they nudge at us, when we need to slow down. And the first few times they'll hit us with a feather, hey, back up, take it easy. And then if we don't listen, they eventually slap us in the head with a brick,
I got pushed off a cliff into a fiery pit.
Right. Hence the, the tower card, right?
Yeah.
If we don't listen, they get our attention, So, and then that's when that growth happens, like Jen was saying, but
Michael always
sometimes
says
we're hard-headed.
Michael is good at always saying, look, if you don't take the break when you're nudged, you're going to be forced.
Yeah,
Right.
they're going to put you in timeout.
They're going to put you there.
Yeah, time out. Exactly.
John was around some of that stuff. My friend in Virginia, when I went to move everything back. But in the comment before that, I'm so sorry I didn't catch your name. Yes, you talk about your mother being an energy vampire and everything. I've been around people that are really, really close to me that would just
suck the life out of
yes,
you.
Jessica, yes, absolutely. That's like, it's okay to put boundaries with your family. It's okay. It's absolutely okay. It's imperative. And you know what? your relationship there's a high potential of improving when you're able to do that. If you both can set healthy boundaries and respect them. That's not always the case, but I used to have a horrible relationship with my mom. It was awful. But we put the work in. I'm a firm believer. If you want something important or substantial in your life, you're going to have to put the work in. It isn't all just manifesting. Right. And so and so we put the work in, and it took a long time, but she's one of my best friends in the whole world. I tell her anything. She tells me anything. I trust her. She trusts me. We didn't have that for 30, almost 40 years. I mean, and it really only the last couple of years has been the way it is now. And Lisa knows. Lisa
Hey, Shannon.
my mom. Uh-huh.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I was just looking at the time, and I know we have to do a closer, right? I think
3 minutes. Yes.
We have like 1 or 2 minutes left.
We have 3 minutes. You are correct.
Yeah.
What
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to be like, we got to get that in.
Well, that's what I was curious because it's 7:21 on my clock, and that one says 1:21. So sorry, guys. First episode, we're getting the kinks out. But okay, so I want to tell you guys about our guest next week. We are going to the psychic detective world, and I have a very, very esteemed guest, Nancy Orland Weber. She is absolutely amazing. The book she's written, I've been watching her on YouTube. I Googled her name on whatever, YouTube her name. I searched it, and the videos I watched, and I sent them to Jennifer, and they're just amazing. And we had an interview with her one-on-one one day when we were talking about her being on the show, and we cannot wait to bring her and show her and share her with you guys, because she is absolutely very, very gifted, very insightful, and very knowledgeable. And she has a lot of experience. So that's going to be a really awesome show to, tune in and really pick her brain a little bit and see what she's going to make you laugh as well. So,
yeah. And speaking of animals, she's also an animal communicator. So yeah, she's going to be really, really fun to have on. Yeah. She's amazing. Just her energy, just the time that Shannon and I spent with her was absolutely amazing. I've got to finish her book before Monday too. I'm almost there. Or not before Monday, before Thursday. Yeah, but I'm almost there. But I did want to say that I have met you before, Stephanie, but it was so nice to have you on. Like you're always just so nice to listen to, and it was nice to meet you, Lisa. I'm going to find you guys on social media, and hopefully we'll stay in contact. And I want to thank Michael for coming on. And well, I just want to thank Michael for a lot of things. Like, I don't think he's not a, what's the word I want to use? A formal mentor to me, but he is a mentor, I think, more than to a lot of people, more than he knows and more than he believes. So I just want to say thank you for that.
My pleasure. Thanks for putting up with me.
Yes, thank you for having us here. I think it's just this has been so much fun.
Yes, and nice to meet you, Michael. Absolutely.
You too.
I've seen you around, and Jen talks really highly of you, so it's good to sit and have a
can only
little
imagine
chat.
What she says behind closed doors.
We can't say those
maybe
words.
You will.
Well, it was an honor to meet everybody, and thank you so much for the invitation.
And thank you for everybody in the audience, all of the comments. I had a hard time seeing all of them, but I do know that you were there, so thank you for that.
Was it the whole private chat comments thing again, Jen?
The what?
The whole private, the click up on the right. She's like,
no, I got it this time. I see the comment.
She couldn't figure out, why can't I see comments? I'm like, you got to push that button that says comments.
I couldn't see any comments. He's like, click over to comments.
I couldn't either.
I couldn't see anything. And I'm like, okay, that's what I need to learn. Sorry, guys, I'm not a tech person at all. So that's going to be my project.
I don't even know how to use my computer.
Yeah.
I push buttons until something works. I don't know.
I can somewhat maintain, but yeah, I had a little bit of issues even getting everything set up today, but I will work on that because I do care what you guys are saying. I want to be able to discuss those topics and those, comments and questions you have. So I will get better at that. I promise. I'll be diligent about putting the effort in. So, oh goodness. So guys, I love you guys. That's all I can say. Like, I'm so glad that I have you all here. The energy that I can feel out of this, y'all are really good people, and I appreciate having y'all in my lives. And Michael, you're in my life now.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I don't like that. Jen was like,
It was so nice to meet you, and Lisa. It was so wonderful to meet you. And Jen, it was so nice to see you again.
It was
Really
nice to see you again.
Oh,
So,
A lot of love in
Shannon,
this
this
room.
is show one. I don't know what we do now. Do
Yeah.
we leave the studio
Well,
or,
I
or
wanna
do we
ta-
wait for race?
I wanted to stop it. I want to talk about Annex before we leave real quick. I want to tell Annex, thank you so much, the Annex Network, for having us on, for asking us if we wanted to do this.
Yes,
You know, Race reached
absolutely.
out to me. I've been like a little deer in the headlight trying to figure it out as I go on what to do, how to do it. Because I was on a podcast for a year and a half, but I was the co-host and he just sent me a link and I jumped on. But Race has been a wonderful, Margie's been amazing. This network is the people that I've seen and talked to so far are just outstanding. And I want to thank them again for bringing us on. But I can't wait for the relationship to grow. But we are hitting our mark, guys. Again, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Tune in next Thursday. It's going to be a great show at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I have a problem with those
Yes.
time zones. But thank you
I
so
don't.
much.
I had to do math.
Take your shoes off.